what we're trying to do here with Across the Desktop, at Desktop Co-working Communities, we're trying to, I'm trying to impact small business people by interviewing small business people. Find out what their story was, where they came from, how they got to where they are, where they're going, what their plans are for the future. I mean, that's kind of what we're trying to do here with Across the Desktop. And with that, today we're sitting down across the desktop, with Brent Rittersdorf. He is, so many things, but the qualifying broker for High Caliber Realty here in Kennesaw. You're a speaker. You're an author. You've got a rich background. You and I have known each other for 6-8 years now, 10 years maybe.
Easily. I mean, when you were like one of the you still are. You were like the big dog with Kennesaw Business Association.
Oh yeah, the big dog. I got out of there quick.
Yeah.
I 2 years, and I did my time.
You did your time. You served your community, but that service that you did, you're still a major presence. When you walk into a room, everybody knows you and they know what you did. How you served.
I think God gave me a really cool platform then, because I was in charge of hospitality, is what they called it, which allowed me to get up and do the drawings at the end of the, so you get to be on the platform. And anytime you get on the platform, people think you're somebody.
Yep.
And that was wonderful, because I did get to meet a lot of people. But to me, the purpose of anything like that, as you well know, because you're so entrenched in so many business associations, is to serve, is to help people. And, I did something back then called, KBA University.
Yeah, that was huge.
Which was very helpful. I still have people come up to me, and that was to help people be business people, learn how to be business people.
Isn't it interesting? I remember that. It's still talked about within the association as one of the cooler programs, but it's the content itself, but it takes somebody special to be able to organize it, deliver it, communicate it, and execute it.
Yeah.
It's not been done since.
Well, we got killed by COVID.
Yeah.
We did it in 2019. So it was spring and fall of 2019. And I need to have Pete on, on the program. But podcast Pete. Yeah.
Saw him at the gym the other day. Yeah. We were crossing paths. Yeah.
He was going to take that over for me, because I was coming off the board. I was on the board 2018 and 2019, coming off the board, and he was going to take over KBA University. And then COVID hit, in the spring of 2020. So no one was doing anything. And then he had his stroke.
Yeah.
And so that kind of derailed it, and I wasn't there, to pick it back up. And, I've actually talked about reviving it simply because I think there are a lot of small business people who don't know how they should structure their company or what insurance they should have, or the legal liabilities, of being in business. And those are the things we taught at KBA University. But this podcast isn't about me. This is about you.
Well, it's a combination, right?
So, Brent, I many times I ask people, tell me your story in 10 words or less. Tell me the story of your life in 10 words or less. You're going to get used to more than 10 words here, but tell me about Brent Rittersdorf. I want to know your story. You're not from around here, are you?
Well, I've been around long enough where
you're a transplant.
They can find my, where the USPS can find my address, the voters registration, the taxpayers, so they know where I live. They know where I'm here. I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Maine.
Yeah.
And long journey of growing up, the small town, fishing town in Rockland, Maine, about 9,000 people, very small community. Everybody kind of knew what was going on with everybody. It didn't help for the fact that my father was my high school principal, and
everybody loved you at school, didn't they?
They all, there was one of two camps. It was like they either loved you or they hated you. So there was no in the middle. And but to cap that part of it off of a very kind of a weird time, my father got to hand me my high school diploma, and that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think you look at these big graduation ceremonies today. If there's 500 people, nobody gets their diploma walking on stage. It's mailed to them. But to have your father hand you the diploma, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
But career took me to Florida. Worked in the hotel restaurant industry for many years.
You majored in that, didn't you?
It did. Yeah, I went to the University of Southern Maine. Went into hotel restaurant management. Worked in that industry for over 20 years. Traveled around a lot, and actually moved to Atlanta the first time back in the early 90s, 93.
Okay.
I always say the measuring stick was, Wade Green Road was the end of the world in 1993.
That is true. So I dated my first wife. I was working at Whitewater Park. Okay, that's what brought me to Atlanta, Whitewater Park, 1984. And when I met my first wife, Debbie, she lived off Wade Green Road. And I thought, when am I going to get there?
Where is that?
Where is that? And now it's like hop, skip, and a jump.
Do you remember there was a rest stop there? There was a rest stop, an actual rest stop. That was like, if you could get through Atlanta, you got to the rest stop. It was just
past it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's obviously gone, but.
Long time now.
Yeah.
Long time. But that was, so I moved there and moved here in the early 90s and then worked in the restaurants and moved around a lot. In restaurants, if you want to grow, you can do it one of two ways. You can stay put or you can be willing to move every couple of years and your career could go faster that way. And so that's what I did. I moved around a lot, lived all over the place, lived in the Midwest, Northeast, South, and then ultimately when I transitioned into real estate back in 2010, moved back to Atlanta back then, and that's how I would say that kind of was my second part of my journey as far as growing a career in real estate, growing and being involved in the community, and then ultimately developing this 10 for 10 brand along the way.
What company were you with that took you all over the country?
Hooters Restaurants.
Really?
Yeah. Now bankrupt. And,
now not there anymore.
Yeah. It's there. The original founders, they sort of kind of took it back, and there's a kind of a hybrid and trying to maintain that concept.
Facsimile of what it was. And did they maintain the name?
They did. Oh yeah, they did that. In fact, they closed a lot of them around, but the one here in Kennesaw is still open, and they do a decent job. It's interesting when you think about the concept of anything. Everything has a beginning.
Right.
Everything has an end. The beginning is always pretty cool. The ending's always bittersweet. And this is a concept that's been around for 50 years almost.
I had no idea.
Early 80s, right?
Wow.
And so, as much as people don't want to see things end, things kind of take a natural course of history. And this is a company that just, ended up going bankrupt. But it created an amazing amount of opportunity and stories for me. And I'm really thankful for the opportunities and rewards it gave me.
Why real estate? Okay, so this ends in 2010. What drew you to real estate?
I think we all go through, and we all continue to go through this thing called purpose in life.
Yeah.
And it's always been my favorite word. It's always been something that stuck here. And it wasn't, purpose to me isn't the thing you see on a PowerPoint. It's the thing that's in your soul. And so I always was just asking, okay, I've done this job in real estate for so long, or restaurants. What's next? Is there something I'm supposed to do? And I had bought and sold a few homes along the way and really enjoyed that process. Mm-hmm. And I liked helping people along the way as well.
Well, you had a hospitality background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in the hospitality background, you work when other people play.
Right.
And the restaurant industry is rough. And so I just traded one R for the other. I went from restaurants to real estate.
One rough for another rough?
One rough for another rough. And basically you work when other people play.
Right.
So if people are off on Saturday and Sunday, that's when you work. If people are off at 7 p.m. at night after work, that's when you work. So you just, and as you know, you've been in the industry much longer than I have. So but yeah, one rough for another.
Yeah. Okay. So you get in the real estate industry in 2010. Who did you go to work with?
Company's called High Caliber Realty.
Okay, so you went to for Bill
Boardman.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah, he helped me buy one of my first houses.
When you came here in 93?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's always been, in fact, the house I live in today, I bought as a rental. And he said, don't ever sell that because someday it's going to take care of you. And ultimately it did, because when I moved back here, that was the house I moved into.
Sure.
And he's the one that has always been there, and I've never worked for any other brokerage but.
What is Bill is this way, I'm this way, you're this way. what is the difference between a real estate professional
Yeah.
and a salesman, a real estate salesman?
I think a real estate salesman gets caught up into all of the mainstream stuff that you see on TV, on the billboards, and gotta be making the deal and being in front of everybody. And I'm working for a broker that's telling me to do tasks for a client, and let's just get to the closing table. I think a true real estate.
They're about the deal.
Yeah.
Just get the deal done.
Yeah. I think a real estate professional, like my tagline is help you make wise decisions that produce favorable results.
Right.
And so, yeah, I got a sign in my back of my truck and I'd love to stick it in your yard, but that's not the thing.
Is that what's best for you?
Right.
Yeah.
What do we need to do here? You know, and so before we just go down the road of doing this, tell me your story. I mean, people, that's the beautiful thing is people have stories to tell. And if they want to tell it, listen to them.
Yeah.
And then you'll be surprised at what types of goals you can create for people just by listening to their story. And
how many people have you told, I don't think you should sell this house?
I've told a lot of people that.
Yeah.
And I've told a lot of people that I don't think you should buy one once you sell it.
Yeah.
I've told people, you know what, your lifestyle,
That's right.
if you're not going to hurt my feelings if you want to go rent something, so you can travel and you don't have to worry about it. So it's not about the deal, because that a deal is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's about the person and what's best for them.
Yeah, we say it at ReLocal, Jackie and I and our agents, it's people over profit.
Yeah.
People are more important than the profit. And we tell people, Bill told you, don't sell this.
Right.
We sell to a lot of young people, 20s somethings.
Yeah.
And, now it's 30 somethings first houses.
Yeah.
And we try and paint a vision for them. If they can stand it, buy this house, live in it for 2 or 3 years. And if you ever decide to move, keep this one, buy the next one.
That's your portfolio.
That's your portfolio.
Yeah.
That's your retirement. That's an additional retirement. My son owns 3 houses now. He's now out in Seattle, but he owns 2 houses here and 1 there. And, he's planning whenever he outgrows the one out there,
Right.
he'll keep it and he'll buy another one. But they're all rentals now. He wants to have 5 rentals paid for by the time he's 50.
Perfect.
Well, now you're looking at, $12,000-$15,000 a month in cash flow. Pure cash flow. So I think a lot of people don't think about that, and a lot of realtors don't think about that. They think get as many deals done as you can, because that's what we're, for one reason or another, that's how we're measured, by the number of deals you get done, not the amount of people you help.
It's amazing how many people will ask me, and they'll say, well, how many deals did you do last year? Yeah. And oh, well, tell me how much you made how much is in your bank account, right?
That's right.
But I always am amazed by that, because I don't really, you don't put transactions in the bank.
Right.
You put dollars in the bank. So I don't, if it was 5 or 10 or 3 or 30, I mean, what does it matter?
Right.
Right.
What was the quality of your deals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the quality deal, and were the people, were they happy? And I think that's a major miss, a lot with a lot of people in the industry, and maybe even the consumer, because they're not educated. But at the end of the day, if you take the real estate class, future agents and brokers, page 1 of the book, it says a true deal is met when there is a meeting of the minds.
That's right.
Page 1.
That's right.
And I think most people forget that, because a meeting of the minds translates to win-win. If a buyer gets a property at a fair price, what they can afford, they've won. A seller sells a product, an asset, at a good price where they've made a little bit of money, they've won.
Yeah.
But we get all of this, this negotiation stuff where you have agents that are like, I gotta be right, I gotta be right, I gotta be right.
I gotta win. I gotta win for my client.
Right, I gotta win for my client.
That's
I gotta
right.
stick it to the other side. And it's like, well, why can't you both win?
Right.
Why can't you just do it both win? And I think if you we have to take away and strip our pride a little bit sometimes, and remember, what are we doing for our client? Is it best for both sides? Even though I have a legal duty to represent my side, we have to remember that we're here to protect the public, and we want everybody to win.
Do you see yourself as a psychologist sometimes?
Yeah, I can't prescribe medicine, but yeah.
That's a psychiatrist.
Oh, psychiatrist. Yeah, okay. I do not see myself as a psychiatrist, but maybe a psychologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beard helps. So you could play one.
I could. Yeah, you just you do a lot of listening, and and really, I think the biggest difference is I live in the land of what is, and I try to help my clients live in the land of what is versus the land of what if, because a lot of people will get like, well, what if this happens, or what if this doesn't appraise, or what if this doesn't appraise? It's like, this is where we're here right now. I know what to do the rest of the way. And if we get to that point, I know what to do.
If we'll react, and
That's right.
And I've got experience.
That's right.
Yeah, we're good.
We don't need to worry about the land of what if. Let's worry about the land of what is, and let's get to keys and cash day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love your tagline. I want you to say it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
My purpose is to help you make wise decisions in real estate that produce favorable results.
And I think it resonates because everybody wants to be wise.
Yeah.
They don't want to make a stupid decision.
That's right.
And they don't want unfavorable results. And I think sometimes people need to be reminded of the simplicity of real estate.
Yeah.
This isn't rocket science. You got to live somewhere. Why not get a benefit from where you live versus just, and if it's renting, like you said, you get somebody at the end, they sell their house, they need more flexibility, they don't want to take care of maintenance.
Sure.
Let's rent for a season.
That's right.
That's fine. But real estate really is simplicity. My mother-in-law from my late wife, she got me into the real estate business. And I was like, I'm not selling anything. I remember that from the Boy Scouts. I am not going to sell.
Don't sell anything.
And she goes, oh, Dave, you're not trying to get people to buy something they don't want. You're just helping them get something they do want. I thought, I can do that.
Yeah. Why not?
I can help people. I know that's how you feel.
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing is you just want to say, hey, what have you got? Tell me your story. Let me see how I can help you. Yeah. And I can put together a plan for you once I understand all the details.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's fun when you do it. I don't know about you though. When I get to closing day and I bring that check home, I take a significant amount of time of silence and just reflect on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And because there's a level of exhaustion that you put into making sure.
I laugh because that is so true.
Right, because this client, they're moving or they're cashing their check from the sale or they're drinking that bottle of champagne, and I just sit there and I just think about how did I do? Did I do the best I could for every conversation and all the emails and all the texts that come through? And
so you basically do a lesson learned on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just look at that check and I say, thank you.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the quietness. And so I know some people, they're going out and you're doing the big steak dinners and that kind of stuff. And there might be a steak on the grill, but I just spend that time in silence. Yeah. Reflect.
Well, there is a gratitude, to what God provides all the time.
Yeah.
Regardless of what people do for a living. Whether they're a plumber. I had a guy on, James, who's starting an olive oil company. Right now, it's all money going out. As he creates packaging and branding and finds somebody who is going to fulfill this, for him. Because he's wanting to do kind of a subscription-based olive oil company.
Okay.
Which is brilliant.
That's very cool.
It's brilliant. But, at some point, he's going to hope that people buy it and, there's checks coming in. But
when you do any type of these jobs, if you will, this world of the 1099 world we live in, there's a lot of effort and expenses and marketing and branding and time and networking that you put into. And there's a lot of days you come home and you're like, okay, the money didn't come in today. Let's try again tomorrow, and get one closer day to it. But I think that's probably the reason why I take that time to reflect when I get that check. Because when I look back in my W-2 career, certainly I had a lot of rewards and experiences and bonuses, but I didn't take that time to I just assumed and took things for granted that every 2 weeks a check was going to show up.
Sure.
And I reflect on that too, thinking maybe if I had spent more time, looking at it from that perspective, maybe the career would have been, in a different way. I just don't know.
What was your biggest challenge in going from, corporate to independent contractor?
The head mindset, because you have to be willing to think about all of the things that you're about to trade in that you have currently in a W-2 world for a 1099 job. And I tell this story in my book. It's called The Ladder.
Yeah, we'll get to your book in a minute because it's very interesting.
Yeah, but when you're trying to accomplish something, you have to think about all of the things that you're going to have to sacrifice along the way. And you know what the sacrifice is, but you're afraid to admit it and you're afraid to accept it. And so for me, that transition from the W-2 to the 1099 was, okay, well, I don't know when I'm going to get paid again. And I don't know what's going to happen with these expenses. And I don't know what the unforeseen expenses are, because I know there's going to be expenses I don't know.
Sure.
And so how am I going to get past all that? And then I began to realize, well, this is what I think I really am going to love to do. It'll be what it'll be. I know how to work hard.
What did Bill tell you when you entered the business?
Bill told me, well, he told me 10 years before I entered it that you should enter the business, and then nobody listens to Bill. And then when I entered it, he said, I told you so. But Bill was very cool about it, because he told me when I got in, he said, okay, you've been licensed for 3 years. Before you get busy, go get your broker's license. Because when you get busy, you won't have time.
So you got licensed before you left corporate?
Yeah.
Okay. 2010,
and I was doing it
on the side. Don't you love the agents who want to get in and
do
it
it on
as a hobby?
the side? And I knew right away that this wasn't going to work. And I said, I knew that was part of the transition. I'm like, if I'm going to be successful at this, I'm going to have to do it full time. But that grappling of the paycheck, and where that is. But Bill was like, okay, now you've been licensed, go get your broker's license. Because once you get busy, you won't have time. And then I got the broker's license, and he came in one day, he sat down, he goes, okay, now, I'm going to teach you how to sell real estate. The classes don't teach you.
That's right.
Let me teach you.
They teach you how to get licensed.
They teach you how to pass the test.
Yeah.
And so that was what Bill did, and he was just like, and he goes, and I'm not going to teach you. We're not going to sit in classes 8 hours a day. He goes, I'm not going to teach you how to go to work. It's obviously you know how to get up in the morning, put your pants on, and take a shower. I don't need to teach you how to use a calendar.
Yeah.
He goes, but I am going to teach you how to sell real estate, and you're going to come on every deal that I go with, and you're going to take notes, and you're just going to listen, and then when you do get a deal, I'm going to come with you.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to listen, and ultimately he just said at the end of every one, he goes, "Did you learn anything today?" And I would tell him, and he would say, "Did you learn anything else?" Which meant there must have been something else he was trying to teach.
Something else I wanted you to learn.
Yeah, and then if I would call him, even to this day, if he doesn't call me back, that's our nonverbal communication of like, you know how to handle it, handle it.
So he was more of a mentor.
Yeah.
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 Is that the way you lead now? Because now you're the managing broker of his firm.
Right. Yeah. That's more of the way that we try to attack it, and really be that mentor. So if somebody calls with a question, do you find it funny how many times an agent will come to you and they'll say, well, we've got this, got this deal, and the earnest money is this, and we got the closing, and I can't do this, and they go in this whole long 3-minute story, and you're smiling. I know what you're going to say, and then you're like, do you represent the buyer or the seller?
That's right.
It's like, can you help me out a little bit? Tell me where you're at.
Yeah.
Oh, I said, so back up.
Yeah.
Tell me where you're at.
Right.
Who do you represent?
Sure.
And
really, it kind of comes down to that. Now, we talked about win-wins.
Yeah.
Not win-losses, because if you have a win-loss, usually the deal doesn't get done.
Yeah.
But it is important. Jackie and I go through this. We have to say, but we do represent the seller in this transaction, and so we are bound to do this,
right,
because of who we represent. But we are also bound to try and get the deal done. So sometimes you have to tell a seller something they don't want to hear. Sometimes you have to tell your buyer something they don't want to hear. But it's in their best interest if they want the deal. And that's all what I'll ask them. How badly do you want this house, or how badly do you want to sell this house at this point? Now let's talk through what'll happen if we do X versus Y.
Right. Here's where we're at. I play the 1 to 10 game with buyers. And they're like, well, what do we think we should do? And I'm like, well, on a level of 1 to 10,
I like this.
1 being of anger scale. We're talking about the anger scale here. 1 being not angry, 10 being like, can I say like pissed off?
Yeah, sure.
All right, 10 being pissed off.
Yeah.
If you call me tomorrow or Tuesday and say, hey, Brent, let's go put an offer on this house, and the house is under contract, what's your number?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I think I'd be like at a 4 or 5. And I'm like, then we'll go look at more houses next week.
Yeah.
If you tell me the number is like
7 or 8,
we need to make an offer.
Right.
Because and don't worry about it whether you win it or not.
Yeah. I'm going to steal this, by the way.
Take it.
1 to 10. Yeah. I'm going to steal it.
Yeah. I mean, because even if you don't win the offer, make your best offer, because now what you're doing is you're educating the clients to make wise decisions. So even if they don't get that deal, the next house, they've gone through this process. It's so much easier, because they're like, just make the offer. We know what we're going to be doing. We've now they've gone through the DocuSign or the electronic signature programs. They've gone through, it's just like anything, right? When you're not familiar with something, the first couple times you do it, but once you get a couple of reps, it's like, let's just do this. So, that's how I do it with the buyers.
Yeah, we call it the regret level.
There you go. Yeah.
Are you going to regret not getting this for $5,000?
Right.
Are you willing to let it go for $5,000? In a year, we also do the year. In a year, if you don't get it, and we know it's going to cost $5,000 more to get it, or $5,000 less to sell it.
Correct.
In a year, is it going to matter in your life?
Right.
Yeah, and they're usually like, no, it's really not good. I'm not going to care. It's not going to be a party. You don't talk about it at parties.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you ever watch the show Survivor, the out west, out play, out last type of thing? It's like, it's not. It's just, I always think about when I have a buyer or a seller and the transaction is taking longer than I would like it to.
Sure.
I'm just going to outlast you, because at some point the buyer is going to get fatigued and be like, okay, we cannot do this. At first they're always like, I can't wait to go look at houses. I can't wait to go look at houses. And it's like, you say that.
Yeah.
But there's a point of your diminishing return where it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
I got to find a place to live.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So at some point but by being patient, by listening, by educating, going through the process, playing the 1 out of 10 anger scale, the regret game, you get them there.
Would you say, tell me your story? It's important.
Yeah.
Because I'll ask people, how long do you plan to live here?
Yeah.
Well, I plan to be here. Like for you, for example, when you were moving all around the country, I'm going to be here 1, 2, 3 years.
Right.
Well, then we don't have to look for the perfect house.
That's it.
We have to look for an acceptable house.
That's right.
I'm going to be here 20 years. I'm going to raise my family. Okay, we need the perfect house. That's right. And sometimes it's getting them in that mindset. They're a mover and shaker. They're not going to be here 2 or 3 years. Well, then don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just get a home that will serve you, that won't lose money. That'll make you a little bit of money, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. Yeah.
It's and you said at the top, a lot of younger people are buying homes. I find it amazing. I've been working with a lot of clients in their 20s, so I don't know if that's the millennial or Gen Z. I don't know. I can't keep up with the names.
The young bucks.
Yeah. But they're buying houses. Like I sold a client a home, a condo, downtown, and she bought the house. She doesn't know a car. She ended up buying a home before she bought a car, because she just takes Uber everywhere.
Yeah.
And we ended up looking at a number of them, and we looked at a couple that were, a couple $100,000 more, nicer amenities, and we had that conversation. Dave was like, "What do you think you're gonna,
be here long term?"
Yeah, you're gonna be here in 5 years? She goes, "Well, my career might take me to New York." "Do you swim? Do you like to go to the pool and lay out?" "No, not really." I'm like, "Well, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Get this one. It's $150,000 cheaper. It's small. It needs some renovation. Your dad knows how to do that. Get that."
Yeah.
And then when you go to sell it, the pressure won't be as high, because you don't have as much invested.
And the HOA is half what the better amenities are for condos downtown.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So That's the kind of stuff you do.
You recently wrote a book.
I did.
Okay. And I say recently because it was last fall that you put it out.
So it's been 6 months. Yeah, about 6, 7 months now since we released it. And that was a lot of fun. A lot of work.
Okay. Right. A lot of fun, a lot of work. You obviously like to work. I love to work.
Yeah.
You know, and actually people have told me I need to write a book.
You should.
You know, why should I write a book? Why did you write the book?
Well, I have this brand that I've been working on since 2020, and it's called 10 for 10.
Yeah.
And I have a keynote speech that's associated with it, and it's all about how you can achieve your greater purpose in life. And it kind of has a story along the lines of an old basketball story. When I was in high school in Maine, I went 10 for 10 on the free throw line in a basketball game once, state semifinals. And so I started thinking about this framework of how to achieve your purpose, created a keynote speech, and used a 10 for 10 where I named the shots, there's stories, there's consequences of what happens when you make an advance or if you miss and have to start all over. Because that's what 10 for 10 is, right? Yeah. It's progression of perfection.
Our coach did the same thing.
Right.
So you shoot until you make 10 in a row.
That's right. And if you're at 7 and you miss 8, see you back to the line.
That's right.
Right. You don't care if you're here at 10 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. So I wrote this book. It's called The Point is in the Purpose, How Going 10 for 10 Can Change Your Life. And it was really the culmination of this whole 10 for 10 brand. So I had the keynote. I got the trademark registered for 10 for 10, website, merchandise. I might even have a shirt for you.
Do you?
Maybe.
Okay.
One looks like this.
If you give it, I'll wear it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. And so then, but I kept getting these conversations, these questions. So do you have a book? No, I don't have a book. And they're like, well, are you going to write a book? And I'm like, do I need to? And people are like, I think I'd read it. I think I want to hear the stories. I've seen your keynotes. I think you need a book. And I'm like, okay, I'll write the book. But I didn't know anything about doing it. And I met a lot of people who had written books. And it's kind of like a lot of people, when you ask them the questions about their journey, it's a little obscure. You know, they don't give you a lot of the details. So I had a lot of unanswered questions about the process. Most people say, well, just go self-publish the book. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. And they're like, why? I said, well, first of all, if I'm going to do something, I want a professional product.
Because it's really easy to go self-publish.
You
can write it and do it through Amazon, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but Dave, you know how I'm a real estate agent. You're a real estate agent. You know how I feel about for sale by owner.
That's right.
Why the hell? I'm not going to tell. I don't want you selling your house on your own. Why would I want to go and write a book? That's kind of like
good.
That's kind of like
analogy. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's being very
hypocritical.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay someone to write the book, and I found this publisher, Ripples Media, downtown Atlanta. They do a lot of work with authors here locally, and all over the country, and. I put the manuscript in front of him. I had about 30% written, but I had an outline, and he read it and he goes, this is a really good story. And
there's a book here.
Yeah, and he was like, you've done this in reverse. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, most people write a book so they can create a keynote speech and a brand. He goes, you already have all this. He goes, the book for you is the reverse process. He goes, but it'll make your keynote speech 100% better.
Yeah.
And he goes, it won't be easy because you're not a writer. And I agree with him because when we went through it, it was very obvious. He had to teach me how to write. And it was interesting because I know how to speak in front of people, and I was writing like I was speaking. Mm-hmm. And he had to teach me how to write like I was communicating with somebody in a different realm versus like being that carnival barker, if you will.
Sure.
So it was a very good learning experience and rewarding as well. And now that it's done, I've got this whole project that's completed, and it's a peace of mind thing. And I guess that kind of, now I'm just in the mode of like, how does it grow? Where does it go? How does it complement what I'm doing with real estate?
Did it expand your voice, when it comes to keynotes? Did having the book expand, your opportunities? Yeah,
that gives you, it's an oversized business card. So I've heard people say it. Some people don't read the book. Others people who want to read it. But for those who said, oh, you wrote a book, oh, you're a managing broker, oh, you have a keynote, it becomes another thing that you've done, because I know a lot of people that have written a book, but I know a lot of people that have said, I've never met anybody that wrote a book too. I mean, there's a lot of people, there's more people that haven't written one than that have.
Yeah, we talked earlier about, when I was at KBA, and of course you've been the president of all these different organizations, and you're on the stage, it gives you legitimacy. If you're on stage, people think for some reason you're important. Is that kind of the same thing with writing a book? If you've written a book, then there's some gravitas to that?
There is. I think the thing though that's critical on the being on stage, and we've seen this before, we've seen a lot of people go on stage, it kind of comes back to for me, it comes back to my purpose, and that's helping people make wise decisions, right? And so when I'm on stage, yes, I'm the person on stage, or when you're on stage, you're the person with the mic. That's fine. You're the one that's up there, but it's not about me. Look at me. I'm just going to talk for an hour. It's about, I have a message, and I think I can help people. And when you see people's eyes that are like, when you're doing a keynote and nobody's on their phone, blows your mind away.
Yeah.
It's out of control.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Is there a sense of responsibility to that?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I don't just go up and say, hey, let's go 10 for 10. I practice, rehearse. I make notes for every one of them, even though I know what they are. They're there in case something goes on. I mean, I take it very seriously.
It's easy to forget when you get up there, isn't it? It's harder than people think.
It is. I can tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
My mom taught me this. She was a teacher in high school. And
so your dad's a principal.
Yeah, my mom was a teacher. Yeah. Yeah, you got to get A's. You better get good grades. Otherwise, you better have a real good excuse.
Sure.
But back in those days, there were a lot of times you'd be in a class, and sometimes you'd move from classroom to classroom. But sometimes you might be in the same class and you'd switch topics, right? But be the same teacher. And my mom taught me this power, the power of teaching the transfer. And teaching the transfer is, how do you go from one topic in a session to another when you're trying to make a point and not lose people's attention?
Okay.
Right? It's called teaching the transfer. And so there's these hooks that you have, almost like in a song, from a verse to a bridge to a chorus. When you know the good songs, it's like you don't get distracted, right?
Sure.
So she said, you really need to think about when you're doing these speeches, if you can remember 3 or 4 lines that take you from the end of one story or one point to the other, if you can remember that, then you got each side of it.
Yeah.
And if you forget something, as long as you say that line, you can go back and forth. So she taught me that, the teaching to transfer.
Yeah. You've obviously got a very dynamic local platform. I don't know what it is beyond this, but in Cobb County, you're very well respected, and deservedly so. Is it moving beyond, Cobb County, Atlanta, Georgia?
That's always with the keynote part of this. I've had some opportunities where I've spoke to some other companies. I spoke to Huddle House out in Birmingham.
Yeah.
I spoke to IHOP down in Orlando, in front of 100 general managers. So I've had some opportunities that have gotten me around there.
Were these from your previous life?
Yeah,
You've had some
contacts.
Yeah.
So it's opened me up to get some new ones, and hopefully there's some threads that open there. And then now the next stage is taking this whole package. Having the book helps, having the website helps, having the credentials help, of putting it in front of and determining who decision makers are for companies that want to hire workshop speakers or keynote speakers, and getting in front of those folks. Or even, how do I meet the guy that books the Keller Williams Regional Conference? Because this message is perfect for real estate people.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
now those are the challenges and projects that I'm working on.
Yeah. Is there another book in your future?
I don't know. There might be on the serious side. Maybe there's a form of a workbook that complements it. If we're gonna institute the 10 for 10 into a culture into a company, because really 10 for 10 can be its own culture, its own language.
Yeah.
So potentially there.
It can really be a training program, like you said. Can it be something where have you thought of maybe doing it within High Caliber?
Yeah, you could do it.
Realtors.
I've thought about it, how it works if you were going to like grow a brokerage or start a brokerage or go into a brokerage that's broken, of taking this and saying, here's a framework of how you can become more successful. Because a lot of people, when you're in sales, right, your mind gets in the way first. What do I need to do and how do I do it? And am I going to keep the promises to myself that I'm going to gut through this? Because a lot of agents, they get to month 9, 10, 11, 12. There's no money coming in, a lot of money going out. And they next thing you know, next morning you're on LinkedIn, refreshing your resume and, giving up. Which maybe that might be the best decision, but it might not be for some. And it's like, no, you just need to keep those promises to yourself. And this whole 10 for 10 framework really can help real estate professionals, I think, stick to their course or help them choose another course quicker before they just get so frustrated and so far behind that they don't know what to do.
Yeah, Fran Tarkenton, wrote a book, The Power of Failure. And I got to meet him and interview him about this book. And one of the most dynamic things I got out of the book was he's a serial entrepreneur. If people don't know who Fran Tarkenton is, he still holds, he's in the top 10 in every major quarterback category in the NFL.
Right.
First ever draft pick of the Minnesota Vikings. But back then they didn't make a lot of money, so those guys had to work in the off season, and he was an entrepreneur, so he started like a trucking company and then a paper distribution company and other things. He started over 100 companies in his life. But he said the most important thing for an entrepreneur is to fail forward and fail fast and fail forward. Know quickly if a business is going to work or not, and then learn from it.
Right.
So fail fast, fail forward, and then go do something else. Go start another company, but learn from it. You're the managing broker, which means you're in charge of recruiting and training, for High Caliber. What do you think most agents miss coming into the business that they if had they known, they wouldn't have done it?
I think I have this conversation a lot and think about it a lot, and I think that the biggest thing that new agents are failed by is by the schools they go to, because you could spend. I mean, they tell them you got to sit in the classroom for 75 hours and get them to pass the test, but there's not one segment of 3 hours or 4 hours where the people are asked, how do you envision making a living in this business? Right. Where do you want to make a living in this business? Yeah. And what does that mean? So are you looking at commercial? Are you looking at residential? Are you looking at listing? Are you looking at buying? Are you looking at property management? Okay. Do you want to build a business? Do you have 6 months of money in your savings account or 12 months? Or is it important that you want to be a part of a team? Are you extroverted and you want to be going out to all these things and conferences and rah-rah-rahs? Do you want to be making money week one? Or are you looking at building a business? And so, and really have those conversations and then take that information and almost have like a 20-second one-on-one with these people and say, your questions perfectly align you for somebody like a Keller Williams. You're going to fail if you go to Keller Williams, because as soon as they tell you to go to classroom 6 days a week, you're going to lose interest. You need to go and because you're unmanageable, mm-hmm. Right? And they don't have that type of thing. And so when I talk to newer agents, I just say, how do you envision yourself making money? Mm-hmm. Because if you need to make money within the next 3 weeks, this probably isn't the brokerage for you. Because
probably not the business for you.
It probably isn't.
Yeah.
But you need to think about how this all works for you. What is important to you, what drives you. And I think that's probably because there's so many different types of agencies and brokerages and virtual brokerages and
sure.
And I think that, and we were talking about this offline the other day, I think there's a major void with and I think it'll ebbs and flows. But with all of the advent of AI classes and virtual classes and online classes, and we just got to we just got to check the box so I can get my CE done.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a lot of people live out there teaching people about what's going on in the industry, and I think you see it as a knowledge base just in general when you're talking to agents, because they don't know what they're doing.
Well,
or they don't. I take that back. They know what they're doing, but there might be some things that they're missing on.
I think your first comment was correct. NAR last year, 2025, came out with a study from 2024. And real estate business was pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'd had interest rates double from 20, 21, 22, but 24 we're still selling houses. We're still selling houses now.
Sure.
But from 2024, 1.5 million realtors means members of the National Association of Realtors. So that's what a realtor is, somebody who's paying the fees to be a member of the National Association of Realtors.
Right.
1.5 million of their members, 71% didn't sell a single house in 2024. So they had licensed people, but 71%. We're talking about 450,000 of them had sold a house. The average number of sales was 3.4 sales for all of their people. So of those other 450 that had actually sold at least one house, many of them had sold one house, two houses. Only about 10% were making a good living selling real estate, and you and I know that. It's a lot of people call it the 80-20 rule. It's really, in real estate, it's the 90-10 rule.
Yeah.
You have 10% of the realtors doing 90% of the business.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of realtors, only because they're licensed and they're part of the National Association of Realtors, only about 1 in 10 know what they're doing. And you as a broker, me as a broker, we're responsible for that. When they mess up, the Georgia Real Estate Commission, they come and ask me, they come and ask you,
what happened?
Why didn't you fix this? Why didn't you prevent this? Why didn't you oversee this? And so I think that you're probably right. Last question for you.
Yeah.
I ask all my guests this. If I was to ask one of your friends, I know what I would say as a friend, but if I was to ask one of your friends, tell me about Brent. What's he like as a guy? What would they say?
Yeah, they probably would say Brent's the funniest person I know on the planet. No, they wouldn't say that. I always joke that I say, hey, I know what you're saying right now. You're saying, Brent, how can you be so funny? No, I think they probably would say he's very sincere. He's very down to earth. I'd like for them to say that, and I'd like for them to say, if he tells you something, you can take it to the bank.
Yeah.
It may not be what you want to hear, but it's going to be truth, and he's going to tell you like it is.
Yeah.
And if you need something, you can call him, and he'll do the best he can to help you out.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm your friend. I think that's a perfect description. So, Brent, thank you for coming and sitting down across the desktop.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.
Yeah, this was fun.
This is very, very fun.
Yeah.
I got a T-shirt for you.
Do you?
Yeah.
And I will wear it.
Let's see what we got here. We got a
Man, he brought a whole grab bag.
yeah. So a complimentary 10 for 10.
Thank you very much.
T-shirt, and then you probably need
I am a T-shirt guy.
Yeah, you need an outline so you can see how to go 10 for 10.
Okay, so
You need
here we go. Yeah, there.
You need a koozie to put your cold beverage in.
My goodness.
And if you don't have a cold beverage holder, you have a coaster.
These will be great in my office. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.